Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast, your home for all things Chelsea FC. Nick, Dan, and myself cover all the match reviews from the latest Chelsea matches. We cover the team news and even throw you some exclusive interviews. Thank you already for being an awesome listener. And you know what? Let's jump right in. What is going on, Chelsea fans? Welcome back. Another episode of the London is Blue podcast. Per usual, my name is Brandon, your host, and joining me as always is Dan, but no Nick. Nick ran off to Vegas for the weekend, Dan, left us here behind the mics, living out our wildest dreams.
Well, he goes ahead and shaves his beard, which was well documented on his Instagram stories, and then is completely a different person. It's almost like the beard was the symbiote kind of controlling his brain, and I really just don't understand who he is anymore.
Well, you know how much he likes to talk crap about when we don't show up. You had plenty of excuses, about 7,000 miles worth of them, as you drove almost another halfway across the country, but yet here you are. Well,
no days off. It's the mantra of the Patriots. It's just a really good philosophy that I try to ascribe to, Brandon. And, I'm glad Mike was able to join us too, which is always a good pleasure.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, show up unlike Mr. Verlaine. And I have not forsaken my beard, and I will not be doing so anytime soon. I prefer not to.
The world thanks you.
Yeah, I prefer not to get carded at bars, so...
That literally happened to him, he said, the first place he walked in. Not his group, just him. But hey, that is the life that he chose. But anyways, as we roll into this, we do have some more iTunes reviews. Dan, always warms my heart to see these.
Yeah, we had Eric from New Jersey. Kaz with a long string of letters. Basically looks like it was just a random tapping of the keyboard, so that might have been a robot, I don't know. And Beardo, and yeah, so 3 5-star iTunes reviews, really appreciate those. There was a question from the wonderful Eric from New Jersey asking Nick to grade the best beard in the Chelsea lineup right now, which would be between Rudiger, Willy Caballero, and Giroud. But because Nick isn't here, I think we have to defer to Mike and give him, as the beard master right now, the opportunity to weigh in on that.
What a layup.
Yeah, no offense to Willy, because I think it's a pretty great one. I think you got to go Giroud. It's just sexy. And Dark Horse, I always love seeing the chin strap beard from Hazard, because I don't think he can connect the mustache to the rest of his beard.
So gross. Well, Willy will get honorable mention, because if you can grow that much hair in your face but not on top of your head, he's just proven that he's still got something left.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for those reviews. Unfortunately, no Patreon members have joined this month, but if you do want to have a shout out and also your questions answered in part 2, you just got to join the Patreon train. All right. Well, before we get into the match review, Dan is going to be taking over promo break 1 duties. Dan, what do we got for him?
Wow, read it right from the script, Brandon. Yeah, it's a really interesting layup there. Appreciate that. So yeah, we just would ask, if you have not yet, make sure that you're following us across all those wonderful social media platforms. We've got a Twitter account, which is there for the gifs and the laughs. We have an Instagram account, which is there for Mike's wonderful edits on photos and some of the great photos we get from our friend Chris Axon. And then we also have a Facebook too, which is there for thumbs up and likes. So make sure you're following London Blue Pod on all wonderful platforms.
Ugo.
And now I think we should talk about the match.
All right, Ugo and Reed will take care of you on Facebook. I promise that. All right, guys, here we go. It was Crystal Palace match review time in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge this past Sunday, November 4th. Blues 3, Eagles 1, in case you missed it. And we did have 2 correct score predictions coming from Instagram today. Kenneth G_GL and A_Eisworth. Congrats to you two. Also, correct score prediction, myself. So there's that. Special shout out to Orion, Mike's kid, who probably doesn't listen, but also nailed it.
Yeah, he's 3, and he always chooses 3 goals, but he was spot on today.
Well,
does he do the 3 fingers up in the air? The new Mourinho thing, which
no.
I think is really funny that we've had so many wonderful like photos of our players now with 3 fingers up, whether it's the Hubolt ad where they have the 3 fingers up with the 3 hours ago tweet. Fran Kirby had the one when she had the hat trick. Ross Barkley had his 3 goals over 3 games with 3 fingers up. Loftus-Cheek had his over the hat trick. I don't know if the Chelsea Twitter admin is kind of going for that slight shade, but it seems to be, something that people are connecting the dots between right now.
Good for them.
Maybe a little too much True Detective. I don't know.
Yeah, probably, because those are very obvious reasons why you'd be holding them up. It's not like they're sliding them in like, hey, great game today. 3, it's natural. It makes sense. All right. Well, lineup time. Dan will go ahead and let you run us through this one. Back to the typical 4-3-3 for Maurizio, aka never switches. A couple changes, though, as we've been seeing lately.
Yeah, rotation when you have 3.14 pie games per week from the middle of October through the, kind of beginning of December. Makes a lot of sense. Kepa comes back in after Willie had the chance to be between the sticks during the midweek match. Rudiger, Alonso, Azpilicueta, David Luiz come in as the back 4, so a 4-person swap from the midweek. So Jorginho, Conte, and Ross Barkley continuing the opportunity for Ross the Boss to get some starts in midfield. Then Pedro back in the starting 11, which is a wonderful sight to see. Willian and Morata. Hazard comes in from the bench along with Kovacic. That was a double swap. And then we also saw a appearance from Cesc Fabregas, Gary Cahill, Zabacosta, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Willie Caballero were the unused subs on the bench today. But, Brandon, I didn't think it was many surprises. Sarri had talked about in the press conference, couple of injuries, couple of niggling issues that some of the players had. Giroud wasn't going to get the opportunity to be involved due to some muscular issues. So I really actually don't think this was much of any surprise.
No, probably not. I'm just laughing at the Palace official lineup on the Premier League website that had them as a 4-4-2. I don't know at what point they ever were in a 4-4-2, but hey, whatever.
When they scored the goal against us, probably.
Okay, I mean, even at that point, it was a midfield runner. I mean, it's not like he was posted up next to Zaha, right?
Townsend was kind of playing up as a second striker.
All right, I'm not going to argue with you over this, all right? I just need you to agree, nod your head.
That's why people listen, just pure agreement.
Oh, no, I hear you on that one, obviously. Okay. Probably the one time, but you can't tell me their official lineup was a 4-4-2.
No, it was okay. 1.
That's all I'm saying.
9.
You cherry picked me, man. I get it. Anyways, goal time. All right, we had a nice little goal fest today. Morata in the 32nd minute assist. Pedro, Mike. Was this your favorite of the 2 Alvaro Morata goals today?
I think, the second technically I think is a just fantastic goal. But to me,
is that technically considered a fantastic goal?
Technically. No, I think the first one, I really liked it because he actually pulled out a bit of Olivier Giroud. He stands up tall, takes some contact, kind of falls back and acrobatically knocks it into the net, as he's falling away. So, right foot, left foot, Morata scores with both today, right?
Loved it. Loved all about it. Then, unfortunately, Dan, 53rd minute, the one moment in the game that Palace were in a 4-4-2, Anders Townsend assist MacArthur.
Yeah, you saw Morata get dispossessed and very quickly Palace, situate the ball through midfield. There's really just no way closing down. And, the ball's getting moved forward. Conte had an opportunity. Luis really gets played out of position and is kind of, trying to look at making sure the ball doesn't get past him. But at the same point, Townsend is making some space right behind him. Alonso's got his man marked to the right. Azpilicueta, ends up getting, kind of trying to close in a little bit, but there's just not enough space, not enough time, and the ball gets stroked cleanly past Kepa, and we think we have a game on then, and thankfully that was not the way the rest of the game progressed.
Absolutely not. 65th minute, the second for Alvaro Morata. This time assist Eden Hazard. Bit of a fluke goal if you think about it. I mean, Eden's not even that great of a free kick taker. If you don't believe me, you're just biased, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong supporting Eden.
No. That was not a fluke. So what I will say in defense of the Belgian Wizard,
no. The fact that no one touched it.
Well, okay, so it was not a fluke. It was a bad set piece design or defense by Crystal Palace. Nobody marked Alvaro Morata on the back, which is absolutely insane. Like, they looked at him, they saw him, and then they continued to just focus on keeping the line. And, Rudiger obviously was there, kind of, bigger body, so he's kind of taking up some attention. And then no one goes back to really try to claim the ball that bounces across, and Morata just takes it on his chest and kicks it in on a pretty sharp angle. So, I mean, I think actually it comes down to Crystal Palace just being extremely poor versus, a luck element. Yeah,
I'm not saying that, but come on, nobody touched it. Like, that's fluky. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but yeah, it's just weird that it ended up like getting to Morata wide open inside the 6, and it put it on a platter, and he smashed it home. It was a great left-footed volley.
I think the credit has to go to Rudiger. He did a great job of pulling both defenders to him, and I think, for once, Hazard put in a ball that kind of, it's one of those ones that you hate, in which the keeper can't figure out, does he go out for it? He kind of stays rooted because it's, is it going near post? Do I stay? Do I come out? And, single bounce, and credit to Morata for just smashing it with his left foot, because I think that's what really caught the keeper unaware.
Yeah, it's a teasing cross. It was. Also, you could also say that Hazard putting in a great cross, Dan, is fluky in itself.
I mean, I think you're really trying to take away credit from Eden Hazard, who did get the official assist on this.
Correct.
So, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to go with the FPL stats. It's an assist. So, screw it.
Never said it wasn't. All right, 70th minute, Pedrito assist everyone, ? Even though technically it was Alonso. But my man, Dan, it was a fantastic build-up and finish.
Oh, yeah, that was great. It kind of kicks it around back to... Pedro claims it on the right-hand side of the pitch, right? So he claims it. It goes, back to Jorginho. It goes to Kovacic up to Alonso. Alonso kicks it back across the box. It was really kind of this dinky pass, too. And, Hazard has the right element of mind to kind of dummy, pulls up for a second, lets it slide past him. Pedro pops in, and what really has happened is no one's kind of watching Pedro run in. I think Wan-Bissaka is the only person who catches Pedro making it into the box, and he isn't quick enough to close him down. And Hennessy has another ball slot by him. It was great. It was a really great ball.
Another shout out to Wan-Bissaka, just for your last name. I will probably go buy you an ultimate team tonight, not use you, but just have you in my club because of that.
Yeah, he's out of there's only like one or two players like Zaha, I think Wan-Bissaka, who, if Palace continue this form and if Palace end up getting relegated, which could happen, would need to stay in the Premier League. This is not a great team, but he is a really good right back.
You know who's not great? Chiku Kuyate, central midfielder that can't pass. Just throwing that out there. Athletic beast though, can break up anything. All right, well, speaking of that, first question actually coming to you, Mike, is that I felt like Palace came out today with the strategy of breaking up the midfield, essentially fouling or hitting anyone and everyone that came in there, and it forced Chelsea to play out wide on the wings. What do you think about kind of that strategy? Obviously, we know United have man-marked Jorginho specifically. Nick in our group text was talking about how Newcastle did the opposite. They squeezed our wings and forced everything to the middle. So we've seen a couple different looks, but now, what did you think of, I guess, Chelsea's adaptation of really being uncomfortable playing out on the wings without that kind of central engine of those three being able to get a lot of touches on the ball?
I think Palace had a great plan. They watched what Derby did and just pulled a page out of that book and just decided to kind of run through anyone in midfield anytime they touch the ball, kind of just to wear us down and bully us and beat us up a little bit. I think kind of that's what you have to do to try and either man mark Jorginho to break things up there, which I believe they did a pretty good job at as well. But but also just kind of create havoc. But I don't think it's 100% fair to I'm trying to figure out like how much was it effort and game plan on their part, and how much was it that we were missing 1 to 2 of our starters from the initial lineup, right? Like, they didn't have had they done this against us the whole match with Hazard?
So, I mean, I think obviously missing Hazard changes the complexion of the game. Are you saying because we were missing Giroud because he was playing, or are you talking about like the Kovacic-Barkley kind of swap that's been occurring?
I'm thinking more Kovacic. I think had he been playing alongside Jorginho, I think it would have been harder to create that pressure. I think we would have held on to the ball just a little bit better, whereas Barkley is going to push forward and give you that offensive look. I think if you want us to maintain that possession, I think you want Mateo,
Yeah, I think, and you saw it when he came into the game, that Jorginho actually started getting a lot more freedom, which is why he was able to be crucial in the build-up to Pedro's goal. He got a little more space to kind of maneuver the ball around, wasn't getting kind of completely closed down. Kovacic has a more natural ability to dispossess and win the ball back than Ross Barkley does, and also maintain possession of the ball. Yeah. And I think this game, particularly the way that they were attacking Jorginho, you knew the ball was going to be turned over multiple times, and it really, when Conte gets so far forward advanced in the kind of attacking phase of the game, and you have Ross, who's also moving forward, it really kind of left Jorginho almost on an island. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Jorginho needs to be protected, but if we're trying to maintain and recycle possession, I think that's where, you're absolutely right. Like Kovacic starting that game would have given it a different level of ability to kind of more quickly break up what the Palace plan was, which was to basically boss us in the midfield the way that we've kind of bossed through other pop position this year.
Yeah, it's tough because from a physicality perspective, you kind of want Barkley in that matchup, but at the same time, holding on to that possession, we kind of did a poor job in that initial onset.
Do you guys think that Maurizio is doing a good job to combat these negative tactics this season? I mean, do you think that? I don't think he really changes much, right? I think that, we play 4-3-3, high possession. I didn't think we threw in a lot of crosses today, and by a lot, I mean essentially more than what we have ever seen kind of in the past. But I guess, do you guys think that Maurizio is doing a good job of kind of tactically preparing his team to take on these lower table teams that are, playing a block 9 or block 10, or, when I say lower table, I also mean United. They play defensive.
Oh, that's not fair, Brandon. That's not
just
fair.
In the defensive approach.
Yeah, no, okay. So I will say I think that this game plan involved a little bit more focus on trying to, get the ball out to the wings because the midfield was struggling. But if you look at what was happening on the right wing, which was the lack of synergy between Azpilicueta and Conte, who, even though they did work together to put together the initial movement to Pedro when he assisted on Morata's first goal, I think they actually were slowing the attack down pretty significantly. And I think that's where you really missed Kovacic and Alonso and Hazard on the left, because they were not interchanging as quickly, which wasn't allowing us to get enough separation, when we had the ball, kind of move it as quickly as we were used to or have seen so far this season. And that's where, Mike, I think we were really missing having Hazard and Kovacic on the pitch initially. It was like how quickly we cycle through that ball and get it to the next person, because Aspi and Conte were both moving the ball exceptionally slow, which really caused a couple of the attacks to really just languish and kind of move into nothing in the final third.
Yeah, I have to agree, but as far as that base question of preparation for these lower tier teams, I think the answer has to be yes, because in situations that we had last go around, when we didn't have Hazard on the pitch, we lost those matches. You look at Burnley, you look at certain other matches, and I think what we did was we did a decent job of hanging in long enough to then allow that the depth of our bench to influence the game. I think we had a pretty, for like what we were saying, not really making many changes to a lineup, I still feel like we look differently I think it depends on. It's almost like how Alonso is playing that match, how Barkley's playing that. It's that weird, like, that player's playing, but you don't know what game Alonso's going to be playing. Is he bombing forward? Is he playing defensively? Is there some kind of a mixture within? So I think Sarr's doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I mean, unbeaten so far. So I mean,
we lose this match last year. Hands down, I believe that we don't come back and score 2 consecutive goals. We either draw or, they get some lucky something, towards the end of the match.
Well, I mean, Palace has been, Palace and Newcastle were bogey teams last season. And
for a while,
so if you're saying that, we are, have improved or want to look for milestones to say that we're playing differently and that this style of football, this Sarmisio Isimo is taking hold, this is another fine example of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. Like you said, we've ran into quite a few different challenges that have presented themselves as a very resounding defense. And so far, hey, still undefeated and in second in the league. Love that. Dan, Sarri had some very open and honest quotes this week. Firstly, stating he wants the defense to be better. And secondly, that, well, literally Drinkwater and Moses don't have a spot in his team purely because of their play style, not because of their quality. So touching on the defensive point first, surely the midweek performance of Cahill and Christensen did not give him any headaches over who to choose as center backs. And our friend Naz retweeted this tweet from @NickMiller79 saying, not saying David Luiz is laid back, but he just gave a thumbs up to a fan while taking a throw. What do you think about the defensive unit right now, the fourth of back? And then I kind of want to talk about David Luiz a little bit too.
So I think it's worth probably just going down, from left to right. So, I think Alonso continues to prove that he's, in my mind, just a step beyond Emerson in terms of kind of complete package. I think, what he adds from the attacking phase of the game, specifically today, he found himself in a couple areas where he maybe had an opportunity to do a little bit better if he had gotten some service and, interchanges well with Hazard, which is a positive. So I think there's no selection issue there. Sarri clearly values him, and there's really not any type of issue there. I think Rudiger is, I think has been the best center back that we've had this season. Very great, one of the fastest players in the Premier League, and just kind of sheer speed over, distance. Then I think it becomes a rotational issue, right? Like Luiz has definitely shown that he has been stronger and more consistent across a series of games than I think Christensen has, who had a pretty, average to mediocre showing in midweek. And then Azpilicueta is going to be locked in until there's true competition behind him, because Zappacosta really is not that. And, I think that, Gary Cahill this week being kind of named the club captain, Azpilicueta gets to be the vice captain, which means that he's essentially the captain because Gary Cahill's not starting Premier League matches for us outside of an injury scare to either Rudiger or to David Luiz. I think it's set. Like, I don't think there's any debate about who the best four is. I think really the issue is just the lack of consistent determination and engagement with the game that people see in David Luiz right now, Mike, that just drives them absolutely up a wall. The chill he has sometimes when he's getting closed down by someone is just a little too chill for me.
Could I say something ridiculous?
Do it.
If you had another center back that was just a complete stud, maybe signed in January or whatever, I mean, David Luiz would be the first one out before Rudiger, right? If for whatever reason?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're looking at two ends of the spectrum when you're looking at center backs between a Gary Cahill and a David Luiz, right? You have a Cahill who will back into his own net as he's trying to deal with players coming in and give them way too much room to shoot, and then a bad 2-footed tackle, and then you have Luiz who is just barreling forward and trying to break things up. And when he does not get there, you've got an open man behind you. Today's defensive performance was really weird to me because there were times where, the units were standing on their heads. I mean, there's that one play I remember in which like Rudiger did this beautiful diving slide to cut down a shot, which pushed the player, I think it was Townsend, pushed him further to the left, and Dave did the same thing and ended up blocking the shot. And then there's other times like with Townsend's goal, in which I think between Townsend's goal and Morata's second goal, the defenses turned off because they were like our defense was looking for where Zaha was, and they didn't give a crap who had the ball at the moment. And I think Palace was looking for everyone but Morata. But I don't think the midfield's been helping the way they should. I think way too often you're seeing too many runners coming, descending on the defense, and especially I think between Derby and today, I think you're seeing a lot of attacking straight up the middle, which is tough because you can't push them wide, and it really gives the players a decent shot to pick either side of the goal. But I don't know. It's to me, I guess my question to you, Brandon, would be: does wearing the captain's armband mean you are unable to be subbed off? Because I think
no.
Because to me in Derby, if one of the center backs needed to come out, I thought it should have been Cahill. And today, if you were going to make a defensive substitution, I thought that Azpilicueta should have been pulled. But that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't struggle terribly against Zaha. I actually think he usually did. Zaha did not get a lot of opportunity to unfurl his sails, so to speak, and charge full speed at our defense. I think what Azpilicueta struggled with was the interchange and the overlap with Conte, and really any type of attack that was coming out of the right hand side. Again, the asterisk being the one cross that went into the box that worked well for getting to Pedro, which was Morata's goal, the first one. I felt like this was one of the times where we're kind of seeing where the struggle is. But, we've again, Azpilicueta has proved he could play left back, he could play right back, he could play center back, and multiple different types of systems and with different assignments. So, I think there's some level, again, where this is still a new process. We're learning, we're educating, we're having to, become better in the ability to play this type of football. And, I wouldn't write him off yet. I mean, it's still not where my, primary or, biggest concern is when it comes to, I think our team, I think, if you look at what happened, I think at City today, City plays Southampton, win 6-1. Like, that's what we should be able to do to these type of teams. We should be able to steamroll them with scoring. And I think that's where I would like to see, again, another goal scorer, and that be easier for us, not have to bring on, Hazard to unlock the next two goals.
Yeah. If I could just say one more thing about Dave, I don't think that Dave had a terrible game. And I don't think he was particularly great against Derby either. To me, I feel I'm questioning a little bit of his decision making, and I think I love your opinions on this. I think he is trying way too hard to make things happen. I think he's trying to take something all on himself to make something happen at this point, and he was forcing passes. He'd win a ball back and then would make 2 or 3 bad passes and just couldn't do those little things. So I'm wondering if it's just a bit of a mental block that he's dealing with and just needing to maybe take some of that relaxation from Luis and have him, get a little bit more serious and, balance each other out.
So, my problem though is that City were up at least 2-0 and they gave up a soft penalty, which in that situation as a player you go, meh, that was a fluke. We're still destroying these kids. Chelsea's tied it at 1-1, and it was an open play. It gave Palace belief. And I think that if it were a different team, kind of like a United, right? You give them one, it bred confidence. They went and got a second, and all of a sudden we're chasing the game. I think to me, these one-off goals that we've been starting to give up a little bit, which, by the way, we should go back and look at Mike's little shutout to Morata's goals race. That actually might be a little more intriguing all of a sudden.
Someone actually did bring it up on Twitter, too. They mentioned us today. I think it's like 6-7 now.
Nice. I'm interested.
But I think they were counting all goals. I think we did say Premier League only, which was our caveat. So
that put it at 5 goals. Yeah.
That would put him at 5 goals, which I don't know if all of Kepa's clean sheets have been Premier League based.
I don't know. But either way, kind of going back to my point, is just that like it's a soft goal to give up. Thankfully, it was a soft team to give it up against and it didn't punish us. And I think bringing on Eden Hazard is a good thing because the more minutes he gets, just the better, right? Like he's not a guy who needs to be rested. He's a guy who needs to play as much as he can. And so, I think being in the Europa League helps us because no one's really going to punish us there until we get to like the very, very end potentially. So to me, it's just more of like a systematic thing and kind of like our approach to the game is we know we can go score goals, but we need to keep those clean sheets. Or if you do give one up, we better be 2-3 goals up before that, in my mind. Because I think that the 1-1 equalizer goal, that just gives the other team more confidence, more momentum, more energy, when reality is we don't want that to be happening. So I think that overall, the defense is doing well. I definitely don't think we have a lot of depth in defense, even though Zappacosta looked pretty good against Derby County. It's Derby County, so you have to kind of take it for what it is. And so you'll see this back for all season, unless something pretty serious happens to shake it up. But we'll see. I mean, look, Maurizio said he wants a better defense. I'm sure he will go and coach himself a better defense. And then, transitioning it to the next one, can we pour one out for our homies Drinkwater and Moses? I mean, brutal from Maurizio. He just came
Honesty. It's refreshing.
It's
refreshing,
brutal, nonetheless.
I would imagine though that if you're talking about, these are players that are going to need to move on from Chelsea, that are going to need to be, sold, and a deal is going to be negotiated. You probably don't want someone coming out saying, "Yeah, they're not going to play here. They're not at the level that we need them to be. They're not going to, you're really damaging the value of the commodity you're looking to sell." Yeah. Though I think the lack of game time for both of them have probably done that in already. So, no, but I think it was refreshing to hear. It's good to know that Callum Hudson-Odoi has at least made it above Moses in the power rankings for wingers in our attacking players. So that was good.
Yeah.
Yet Moses has still played. Thought it was interesting. So, Mike, Sarri not only said, "Hey, they're not my plans," he goes, "Let me show you why. Here is a pie chart of skills and attributes that I want." No. He said, Drinkwater can't play in a 3-man midfield, which is, I think, is pretty interesting. I'm assuming that means he's not box to box because he's not going to play Jorginho's role. And he said Moses is literally a wing back. He is not a winger or an attacker, and he's not a fullback.
Yeah, it's rough, but again, I'm sitting there with Dan. I think that I would much rather have a coach come out and say, "Look, these players are, they're square pieces for round hole. There's nothing against," especially in Moses' position, right? I think for Drinkwater, I think you make the argument that I think that's kind of a tough knock on him because in my book he should be able to outfight Fabregas for a position, especially with how little gas Cesc has in his legs at times. But I totally get it for Moses, and it's kind of a nice heads up of, hey, maybe you want to look for something in January.
Wait, but Cesc is a world-class passer.
Was a world-class. Was.
No, he still can. You tell me he's lost his passing?
I think that if we looked at his statistics and some of his play recently, it's not, we're not looking at the 14-15 Fabregas of old. I don't even think we're really looking at the 16-17 Cesc. I'm not saying that he can't put he can't put one on a foot from 30-40 yards, but I don't think that he's the player that he once was. And
He did also score in midweek.
he
though.
did, and I was talking shit about him 30 seconds
Man,
before he
so
scored.
you're going to continue talking shit about him, and next week he's going to go on. He's going to play against Bate, and then he's going to score another goal, probably get 2 assists.
Yo,
and
Bate are bad though. To be fair,
Yeah, I hope he hears this, and I hope he proves me wrong. Just calls me
we're
out.
blocked on Twitter already, so whatever. What I would say is, I personally, not to open an argument, is that I would take Fabregas over Drinkwater, because I think Drinkwater's he does a job. He's a good system player, but Fabregas has more of an X factor, and that's also because we have the wealth of midfielders that we already do, right? Like Drinkwater doesn't stand out in our pool. Fabregas still has a couple of tools in his locker that could stand out for him in that sense. So, but anyways, I don't know. I hear what you guys are saying. I would just say I want my manager to tell me, not the entire world.
I'm sure he's told them multiple times.
He has, but
again, I mean, give it to Sorry for controlling the narrative, right?
Sure, all right. I mean, that's fair. I'm interested to hear what people else think. Like I said, he came out and said what he had to say. He gave us his reasoning why. Nizar and Liam have both talked to us about how refreshingly open and honest Maurizio is. You ask him a question, he gives you an answer. It's as simple as that for the most part, and that is what the dude did. So we will definitely have some shakeup in January. You can guarantee that at this point.
For sure. And let me clarify my shit talking about Fabregas.
You hate
Yeah,
him.
you better before people get on you about it.
I don't think he can run a 3-man midfield. I think that with the right partner in a 4-man midfield, I think he can still do it. But I think what we saw in the Derby match is that teams will attack directly down the middle, and his legs aren't there, he can't cover it, and he kind of ends up running around chasing the ball, and it just leaves huge gaps. So, that said, I think if he doesn't have to worry about filling that middle in, I think he can still do the job and kind of, at times, do a little bit better, I think, than Jorginho, which is probably blasphemy in itself. But I think so rarely we see Jorginho really doing that direct vertical ball. I would love to see him do occasionally what Fabregas does is, put one up over the top of the defense, spread it
He's
wide.
been starting to.
He has. I would agree.
He chipped someone in today, and he had a beautiful lob to someone else.
It was Morata,
Yeah.
and he was just offside.
Yeah.
But I agree, Mike. He definitely needed that, add that element. Otherwise, he was too predictable with like his quick, side to side or even forward diagonal passes. But you just knew that he essentially had this internal clock, like, all right, it's been a second and a half, get it off your foot.
Yep.
But it's been great. Maybe Fabregas has taught him something, huh? What do you think?
Hey, Brandon, I think you have a point here for question 3, which is about Fabregas and Jorginho. But I think we should scrap that and spend some time talking about Morata, because we haven't built that in, and I think this was one of his best performances in a really long time, a complete performance outside of a very cheeky attempt at getting his hat trick. But I think he's looking good and getting praise from the coach. I'm excited.
You must have missed Maurizio's quotes that came out at midnight calling him fragile.
It's all about player personnel and player management. You can't get all praise. But you also can't get all condemnation. And Mauricio walks that fine line of giving a little bit of public motivation and, also a little bit of an attaboy.
Yeah.
So Maurizio's quote, he has, this is from Nizar. So Naz says, sorry, Morata says he's fragile. Quote, he has to play for his teammates without thinking of the goal. The goal is the consequence of the performance. He is a little bit fragile from the mental point of view, but he's very young. I think he can improve very fast, end quote. So it's right. It's the happy sandwich. You start with something nice, then you lay into him, and then you bring it back something nice,
Yeah. I want to know what kind of exorcism we performed on him to expel the demons that have been haunting him, because he looked like a different player today. Not because he was scoring goals, but his reactions to what was happening. If he would go down, he was up quickly. He was chasing the ball down, with speed I've never seen him do. And I think the thing that impressed me the most was, I don't know if you guys remember maybe 70th plus minute, he tracked a ball back almost to the 18-yard box and won it back. When have we seen him do that? I mean, these are the kind of things that Giroud did to endear himself to us. And even in a couple of his misses, you saw him smiling and laughing. And that's that confidence of somebody who knows, like, oh, that's my bad, but no big deal. It's not like the end of the world because I missed this one opportunity and I just have so much shit hanging on top of me that I just can't deal with the pressure. So it'll be interesting to see how we go forward with him.
All right.
I think, but it's exciting. And also the Mauricio quote, which we didn't cover, was that saying that he improved in the last month, improved confidence and personality, I think. Also has improved from a technical point of view. Now he's able to play more with the team. He has great physical and technical potential. He also talked about how Drogba was one of the best in the world for 15 years. Alvaro is very fast, not in the first few steps, but if he runs for 40 meters, he is strong. Not like Drogba. He is a bit much, but he has potential. Which again, he's being, I think, managed extremely well right now, which I don't think he was when he first came here, when he had that bad run of form. And I think you're seeing the confidence of Mauricio play into Morata, who looked like he was having fun, and you could see how excited Hazard was for Morata when he scored that goal, and how excited the team would have been if he had gotten that hat trick. So I think this is all coming up really well for him. Level on goals in the Premier League with, Salah, more goals than Firmino, more goals than Lukaku. Like, not to be, overly, hyperbolic in terms of the praise and how we're putting him up, but he is on a very good trajectory right now because he has tied 5 goals to 5 Kepa clean sheets in the Premier League this season.
Very nice.
He is doing the business right now. Part of the reason I want to talk about it too much, Dan, is because if you make a big deal about it, he's fragile. I want this to be normal. This should be the expectation.
He's not fine china, man. Is he?
Is he not?
He is not. He is not fine china. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, we should be excited. Like, you still need another top tier striker. Like, you look at what you can swap between when it comes to Jesus and Sergio Aguero, when it comes to Man City. I mean, if Firmino was scoring as many goals as our wonderkind Morata, you could say the Salah and Firmino partnership, but like you want that level of it, and like right now that happens to be Hazard and Morata kind of being the 2 primary goal scorers for the team here. Pedro just behind them now at 4 for the Premier League season. So I mean, it's good. You're starting to see goals coming in from different places, and that is a positive thing. That now that the Sarri ball is starting to produce goals, and we have better goal difference than Liverpool. So and they're supposed to have one of the best attacks in the Premier League because it was their season, Mike. Their season.
Yeah. Speaking of better goal differentials, have you seen the difference between ours and a Mr. Jose Mourinho? I believe it's 17, but I could be wrong. Yeah. Again, I think the whole fragile thing. To me, it's almost a bit of a rope-a-dope. Sarri's almost talking about the past because we're not watching a fragile player right now. We're watching a player who has, 5 goals and 7 starts and is scoring, back-to-back games for the first time, I think, since September 2017. So it's been a while since he's doing this. I think that Morata can be at times a little mentally fragile. I think we've seen defenders, mess up his game by kicking him in the shins and throwing some elbows and whatnot. But I think he is a player reborn. And I think hopefully, we're going to see that continue, even though we do need a new striker in January. And I think my question to you guys is, how much of a difference are we seeing, in today's match with the aerial balls being whipped in to how Morata's playing? Like, are we doing a better job of breaking down teams that are kind of, putting 8, 9, 10 behind the ball? And, are we trying to get back to some of the goals that Morata had early on at the beginning of his career with us?
Mike, I literally asked that in the first question, man. You're killing me, Smalls.
I'm sorry.
We talked about the 8, 9 in the back.
Whatever.
No, but seriously, I don't think Maurizio Sarri wants to whip in crosses. Just judging based on his
short
triangles
passes on the ground.
His triangles
short
of possession.
Passes on the ground.
Yeah. But they did it today, right? So you could be right. Maybe they did it to jumpstart him. If I were a cynic or a pessimist, maybe I would say that Morata's coming good because Giroud's hurt, so there's less pressure on him. I also think that if you were to buy another striker in January, he's done. I think he isn't a striker who is looking for a fight internally amongst his team.
That's tough, because what do we do in January then? You
do what's best for the team, and that's what they have to
Agreed.
decide. Does Sarri say, "Hey, I've seen enough. I think we should protect him and prop him up and help him," or he says, "I haven't seen enough. I need something different."
Yep.
I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, there's still plenty of time for him to come good. There's a ton of matches. Obviously, Giroud's been in some training, but he has this muscular problem. Look, I would say that I want nothing more than for Alvaro Morata to come good. I want him to justify his price tag and just be banging him in. And in the post-match press conference, when he got the Man of the Match award, he was talking to the BBC or Sky. I think it was Sky, actually. And he actually laid out. He goes, I had my injury last season. And he goes, and I was dealing with some other stuff. And I think that that's something that a lot of us forget is we have no idea what other stuff might be going on in their lives. Obviously, Alice was pregnant. I wonder if there were maybe complications or a health scare. I mean, there could be a million amount of things. Maybe a family member that wasn't doing well.
Well, he had the loss of his friend.
Well, okay. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that don't always make it into mainstream media. We just kind of take the on pitch in isolation. So, I would just say that, with that being said, Alvaro seems to be fit. He seems to be sharp. A couple lazy offsides that really annoy me that he should have known where he was a bit better. But overall, Dan, as you bring it out of us, a really strong performance. I think that's a good way to put it. It's a strong performance by Alvaro Morata, and hopefully he can absolutely continue this form. If he plays again against Bate, he should have no problem, bagging a couple more in that match. But we'll have to see. So, anything else in entirety of that match that we maybe missed? You guys want to touch on any additional thoughts or comments? Dan? Oh, Mike, go for it. Lead it off.
Soft goals. Do you think Kepa could have done better on the Townsend goal?
It was smashed at far post.
I know. It just.
So my answer is no.
I think there's a lot of blame. I think there's a lot of blame. I don't think Conte did what he should have done. I think Rudiger, Conte made a poor, half-ass challenge to try and take the ball away, let the man run by him. Rudiger let the ball kind of go past him and not do anything. I felt like maybe angle could have been cut a little bit better, but I think it's one of those things in which when your defense opens up and allows someone to run straight through the middle, you're just kind of hoping that they kick the ball at you, right?
So the hard part of that is I'm not great at geometry, but I know enough about angle play and goalkeeping and just the basics of it where he's standing. He has to get from standing straight up to down all the way to the ground, and then as a good 4 yards to his right at a minimum in the time it takes the ball to leave Townsend's foot and get to him. So I would just say that the low to the corner balls are the hardest to save because you have to go from standing to literally on the ground and laterally before the pace of the ball gets past you. So maybe his angle play could have been good, but honestly, he buried it side netting, far post, right on the ground. It was a great shot. It's one of the toughest to save as goalkeepers, but I also haven't looked at a lot of replays, so you might see something that I haven't seen.
Yep.
Let's talk about those other mistakes before it got to him, huh? Shall we? Huh? Goalkeeper's genie?
Wow, had to bust the card out.
Dan, what about you? Anything else you want to circle back to?
No, just good to see the Spanish Armada returning and firing on all cylinders. That was nice to see.
All right, we'll run it through your man of the match poll. It didn't go over well, if we had to talk about it.
It went over fine.
Did you read the replies?
I did. All right, so man of the match poll. The Spanish Armada, so Alonso, Morata, and Pedro all featured, along with first half Luis, who was much better than second half Luis. 87% Morata, 10% to Pedro, 2% to Alonso. People wondering why Alonso. Really good interchange on the left-hand side, good defensively, and then also assisted, so that was great. have a really hard time giving it to putting Hazard in that poll. It was so late in the game. And then first half Luiz was great. He made great clearances. Second half Luiz was not as great. So I couldn't put him in there for the entire time.
But that it's a 90-minute game. Like, you have to take it in totality. That was such a cop-out. If nothing else, you should have put Fabregas or Kepa just because they were Spanish and just kept it totally biased.
You could have gone first half Luiz, second half Hazard, right?
Oh, yeah, I could have. That combined effort between the two of them.
No. All of a sudden, we've just ruined any integrity in these man of the match polls when we Frankenstein options together.
Let me say this.
Stand for it.
I don't think that 10% is fair for Pedro. I mean, he had the key assist.
It should be higher.
Key assist in the opening goal, and then a pivotal, he closed out the game. Once we went up, I feel like you could see the air get knocked out of Crystal Palace when Hazard came on and we scored. We go up a goal, but that third goal was so important. So I think Pedro, he had a hell of a match. Way better than 10%.
He hit the shot that went off the crossbar that Willian buried that wasn't offsides. So
amen.
That could have changed a lot of things.
Yes.
All right. Well, besides that questionable man of the match poll, the table as it stands, everyone except Fulham and Huddersfield, going to be a banger of a match on Monday. Number 20 versus 19. Minus that match, which has no effect on the rest of the table. Man City in first on 29 points. Chelsea jumping Liverpool into second on 27 points with a plus 19 goal difference. Liverpool, the most attacking, hard rock, whatever you want to name it, Klopp style, is in third on 27 points with a plus 16 goal difference. Spurs somehow jumping Arsenal up to fourth on 24 points. Arsenal with the draw, probably a pretty good draw, I'd say, for them at Liverpool. It has them in fifth on 23 points. Bournemouth in sixth, 20 points. United, they did squeak out a late win against them, actually, which jumped them to seventh, also on 20 points. So, Mike, you were asking about goal difference. Man United plus 1 goal difference. They've given up 18 goals with the best goalkeeper in the league. So, there's that. Top 3 in the world.
How does Jose
Chelsea
have a job?
Chelsea have plus 19, so it's an 18 goal difference there. I would just like to point out, and I dug in on Liverpool, Chelsea are quietly in second. I mean, after what they did last season, Salah having an unreal season, buying an expensive goalkeeper, buying Van Dijk for crazy money. I guess I'm just surprised they aren't doing better than they are by their own standards they set. Chelsea are punching above their weight right now. Manager came in 2 weeks before the season. Obviously, we signed Kepa, but other than Jorginho, Kovacic is alone. You pretty much have the same team, right? I mean, Liverpool, I don't know. The way I get at it is...
It's the midfield. I mean, you have Jordan Henderson and Milner against a Kovacic and a Jorginho. I mean, there's a world of difference between
Naby Keita,
who can't keep his hamstring
Wijnaldum. But my point is, I'm just saying, on paper they've got a good midfielder. They're just I'm just gloating that Chelsea are doing so well, mainly because my two best friends are Liverpool fans, and we're in a group chat, and I just have to hear their nonsense all the time. And
they probably listen to this show, and they're probably going to hear Brandon complaining about them. And
I wish. But anyways, I'm just super proud of what Chelsea's done and Maurizio's done. I think Sky again asked him at the end of the match, are you surprised that your team's doing as well as they have? And he was like, it's all down to the players. Like, I have amazing players. They're so technical. And I was kind of thinking about that. It's like, you know what? Chelsea were highly technical. Antonio Conte wanted big, strong, fast players. We weren't all of that. We were some of it. And then Maurizio came in and was like, no. I just want people who are great on the ball. And Chelsea actually did have an abundance of technical players, and it has played right into his hand. And again, I don't know who to give credit for or if it was blind luck on that sense, but the board, they made a great appointment with Maurizio, and I hope he can continue this fine run. because I think that Chelsea will only continue to get much, much, much better under him. And if we're already competing at this level with this little of experience, I mean, I think it could be a really, really fun ride this season, but expect a reality check to come at some point. We can't, this unbeaten run, which is amazing, but there's a banana peel along the way. There always is. And we'll kind of see how it goes from here. But it's been great, huh?
Invincibles too.
Enjoy it.
Yeah,
now just enjoy what it is right now.
Exactly.
Because it will never, it won't, it doesn't happen in repetition, and things are going to happen. So enjoy this run as it stands, and then know that, I think the big thing to me before we kind of wrap up is that, this team, I think one of the reasons why they're able to punch above their weight is there are winners in this team, players that have either won the Premier League before, have potentially won the Champions League, have won, European competitions, have won La Liga. So there's a mentality and a mental ability to go in and grind out results, from a paper to paper talent perspective against Manchester City or, the other best sides in the world. We still, I think, are deficient, maybe not on level 1 across a couple positions, but in level 2 or level 3. And that, it's really hard sometimes to replace that mentality piece. You could buy a lot of really talented players. You can't necessarily teach someone how to be a winner. They have to know, they have to do that and know how to do that again and again and again and again. And that's repetition, that's hard work, that's commitment. And you're seeing that come to fruition on the pitch every Thursday, every Sunday, because that's our rotation right now is Thursdays and Sundays. And it's really joyous to see after what we had to witness last year. So enjoy this for what it is. And when it ends, we'll trust in the fact that these are winners, and we have a coach who believes in this team and is coaching them appropriately, and we'll go back and start a new run.
Yeah, I think that another huge part of though, Dan, too, is the amount of failure that they had last season. Losing to Palace late in the season, just not putting up a fight against Spurs at home. I mean, I think that there's a lot of leftover kind of, I would say, hurt pride in the team that they're here to kind of fix and turn around and make right, which is helpful, which is good. But I mean, come on, this team should not be in Europa League, but they have to earn that right, because nothing is given when it comes to titles, trophies, or playing in the best competitions in the world. So it's amazing. It's fantastic. We hope you guys are loving it just as much as we are. It's nice being quietly in second place. It's nice having the NBC staff will Palace to come back and tie and want, be very biased on their broadcasts of hoping that, Chelsea get knocked off their peg. And it's not happening. It has been great. So good to see. I always love the number of goals Chelsea have scored in the last 10 minutes. It is fantastic. And that just goes to that resiliency and determination Dan talked about. And that comes from Maurizio. He does not give up on those players throughout the 90 minutes. And it works, and it is very successful. So anyways, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. There is a part 2 coming at you, so be on the look for that if you haven't already seen it. And again, just thank you. Thank you for being a listener. If you would, share it with someone else in your life that needs Chelsea, and use us as a way of bringing them to the bright side. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.